Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 10, Episode 82. He's Dave Bryan, Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being with us this Friday, Steelers Nation. Dave, day one of the Combine is in the books. What do you think of the overall just format and all the changes that they made?
Yeah, a couple of those drills I'm not so sure about the...
The end zone fade didn't really go to.
Yeah.
Which wasn't in the end zone, which seems like...
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what the usefulness on of course I have read up on them, ahead of time and all like that, but actually to see them in action and boy, that blocking sled is not going to be a popular participant every year moving forward if that's the way they're going to use that thing. I think them tight ends were not happy about having to see that thing there, but yeah, they have made the move to obviously the prime time here. Now, for me, that means it gets underway at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which really isn't bad, but someone like you gets underway at 7, I suppose, and I understand why they do it. It didn't bother me as much as I thought it might. Allow for some more time during the day for some reading, because normally we hit the ground running on those days and then we sit around waiting all day for the results, some of the results to get posted so we can update our sheets and things like that. So overall, I to grade it, I would say B+.
Yeah, I liked it more than I thought I would, and I think it's kind of what you said before we jumped on the podcast. I still feel like it's too focused on the ratings and the TV and the fan angle, and it's not exactly still ideal for the players. I thought in the past it started too early, and these guys would get up at 5 a.m. for medical stuff and all that, and that was just way too early, and now I think it's going too late. Like, they should start it at noon and run it till 8, and that's kind of the happy, sweet spot that they should follow. But I know that ratings drive everything, and I guess it turned out okay in terms of the schedule.
Boy, it wasn't too many years ago we were watching both television coverage of it and stuff online, too, because there would be an online version that would not break.
Right.
And then it would go to additional, Matt Money Smith and
I think Reese Jones-Drew was doing it. Yeah.
Right. And what's his name? Z. From Lance Zierlein would sit in on that panel and all like that. You got a lot of good extra little information in that, and not only that, you could watch the people run that would run, that were running during a commercial break. And another thing that aggravates me too, if you're going to give us the info, give us the 10-yard splits and stuff like that, like they used to do. I mean, they seem to get away from it more starting last year. And then now, boy, we didn't get a single 10-yard, haven't got a single 10-yard split on the 40 yet. And people might say, well, what's the big damn deal about that? Well, a lot of us nerds like to play with the math, associated with that, and then compare it to past, combines and all like that. And look, the P-Spark is the P-Spark numbers, include the 10-yard splits and all like that. So, they say they want to make it more fan-friendly. I get it, but I mean, at least give us old-timers and nerds a little something to play with as well.
Yeah, it would be nice. I am kind of disappointed in some of the format changes that look to be less substance and more just kind of sizzle of the prime time and the drills and just stuff like that. It is a little frustrating. Just a heads up for people who are the Combine nerds like you and I, Dave. We do have our Combine tracker on Steelers Depot, currently sticking to the top of the page. We'll leave that up there probably for the rest of the weekend, that we're just tracking in live time, and as soon as these numbers come in, everything from the 40, hopefully we'll get 10 splits today with the linemen running, should be able to get that information, and then vertical, broad, and shuttle drills and all those things we are tracking in live time. I think one of the few places that do it in live time. So if you want to have a nice, easy place to see all the information, head on over to Steelers Depot.
Absolutely, and look, what do these numbers really mean? Well, I think Brandon Hunt had a sit down with Missy Matthews recently, and this is something that we talk about every year on the podcast. But yeah, we look forward to it because we don't have a lot of the info, obviously, that team scouts and scouting services have on a lot of these players. So we're trying to get pieces of the puzzle and trying to get them to fit and to match. That's why we talk about it probably a little bit more on the outside. And look, I mean, this is an event anyway. It's been an event for years, and obviously with it moving to prime time, wanting more coverage and stuff like that. But in the grand scheme of things, and Brandon Hunt basically said this, I'm going to probably, unless Matthew Marksy already wrote about it this morning, I'm going to write about it later today, said, really, it's overhyped, and really the 40-yard dashes are overhyped as well too. And we've heard this for years. Mike Mayock say fast players run fast, that kind of thing. So yeah, are there certain things that'll crop up and you say, oh, okay, wow, that's a little new. I wasn't expecting that. Let me go back and check the tape. But for the most part, combine's just confirmation on a lot of stuff that NFL personnel, front office, and scouts already know. There's not going to be a lot of surprise, I don't think, top to bottom in that. And to hear people say, oh, so-and-so's flying up the draft board now because of this, that might be true on the outsider draftnik side of things, but I don't think there's a lot of front office and scout personnel going, ooh, we're going to move this guy up, 9 places. More than anything, if a guy, at the combine, if he interviews well, because let's face it, the combine is a good place to get the medicals done and to get some face-to-face time and to learn more about these individuals. I think players could make bigger movements potentially up or down on draft boards based on what happens, what we don't see on the field at Lucas Oil Stadium as opposed to what happens on it.
Yeah, I think we're always trying to play catch up from the outsider to what's happening internally and the information that kind of leaks out from scouts and GMs and whoever over time. So I think that's true, but I also would say is that I think we get fixated too much on one particular time, but these whole workouts are important to help put together that athletic profile puzzle that gets used so much with the emergence of analytics and what percentile these guys are in overall, what are the thresholds needed to meet at a certain position with a certain time, and that kind of helps give you a clue of their success. Like Jared Pinkney, for example, the tight end from Vanderbilt, the fact that he ran 4.96, the historical precedent of tight ends that have run sub 4.9 at the combine, the success rate is very low. So I think to some extent those numbers can be helpful, and when you put them all together, all the testing into sort of a score that a lot of teams will do and check the precedent of success based on those numbers, I think that is important. But I think you're right, looking at one singular time often is the wrong way to go about it.
Now, with that said, if I gave you, if you never saw if you never saw any of the games and never visually saw any of the players, yet I gave you his a very detailed stats breakdown, of what each player did during their college career, and I'm talking about any stat that you want, I could get to you. Okay, obviously beyond a lot of what you read online, more along the lines of what the advanced analytics, like the depth of target, depth of reception, accuracy, distances, and those kind of things. If I gave you that complete profile of a player, and then I turned around and gave you his complete combine testing, complete with 10-yard, 20-yard splits, all the bells and whistles that we like to get our hands on, could you probably tell me within a round where that guy is going to be drafted at?
I mean, I think that's like half the puzzle. I think it's a really important part of the puzzle, but I always fall back on the tape and what does the tape say, and that's the ultimate. And I know we're both in that camp, and I'm sure most people listening agree. So I think that is a large chunk of the puzzle. I think it helps give you a range, but I probably couldn't. I don't know if I could actually do that and go that far because I'm always about the tape.
Right, and which you should be. I'm not saying otherwise. I'm just saying that Tom, Tom on the outside there could could sit and just whittle away, probably a rankings list. And a lot of them probably do based on that.
Right.
You read some of the stuff on Twitter that some of the guys get posted, and you wonder how many of. And I'm talking about the Mel Kipers too. Sometimes, have those guys really watched more than just a highlight tape on some of these guys?
Yeah, it's always hard to say. But let's get into let's start with the Steelers specifically, and then we'll kind of look at the group as a whole and look at the receivers and tight ends and a little bit with the quarterbacks who all worked out yesterday at Indy. And obviously we're not going to have all the information on who the Steelers met with. It's just kind of haphazard, and whoever gets asked a question, whoever ends up giving that answer. But we know 3 offensive players the team has met with formally, 2 that count against the 45, and they are running back Cam Akers from Florida State, Jalen Reagor, the wide receiver from TCU, and Albert O, who had a heck of a day yesterday, the tight end from Missouri. So I don't know if any of these guys are a shock. I think generally this team's meeting with underclassmen, which makes sense. You know less about the underclassmen, the juniors, redshirt sophomores, than you do with the seniors that have been in school and you knew were coming out. So I'm not shocked by any of these names, but what's your kind of reaction to hearing about those 3?
Yeah, and look, I mean, you have less that you can meet with starting this year. I think they say 18 to 20 minutes. I don't know what I've heard 18 minutes is official time, but I hear them kind of referred to it as 20. A lot of other places there. So, look, I mean, we're only going to get a small percentage of the guys that they meet with at the combine. A lot of them we're not going to be for sure whether or not it was a formal or an informal interview. And the informals, they could probably have as many informals as they want, And I think a lot of those are just guys coming in, walking into the door. Hey, stop by and see the O-line coach here, that kind of thing there. So it's hard, it's hard to read way too much. I mean, look, it's definitely worth paying attention to. It's hard to build a long, complete list off of these things. We'll learn about more of these guys meeting with the Steelers at the combine after the combine's over with, when they hold radio interviews and things of that nature. So is it a piece of the puzzle worth paying attention to? Absolutely, yes. But as you said, look, a lot of these guys, and I think especially now with them lowering the number from 60 to 45, you got to be a lot more selective. I think Brandon Hunt kind of talked about this with his interview with Missy Matthews as well too. You got to be a lot more selective as well too. So you might as well start choosing guys that you need to learn a little bit more about, and that of course would be the underclassmen, which seems to be generally the case here with the Steelers this year.
Yeah, I think, Alberto had probably the best workout of any of the tight ends, and then Raker's a really interesting guy who probably didn't run as fast as expected. Some people thought he could even dip in the high 4.2s or at least solidly in the 4.3s, ended up running 4.47 flat. I don't know I said flat, but 4.47. But I think that's partly because of him gaining weight. I mean, he came in at like 206, less than 195. So he's interesting. For sure, we talk about him more maybe later on when we get into positional groups. But yeah, I don't want to put too much stock into these things. For the defensive side of the ball, some of these reported, most of these are informal, but Curtis Weaver, the outside linebacker from Boise State, is our formal meeting, according to Joe Reuter. Josh Uche, informal. Kaliki Hudson, linebacker from Michigan, informal. Ross Blacklock, D-tackle from TCU. Not sure if that's formal or informal. Then the O-line, Colton McKivitz, local kid from West Virginia, and Lloyd Cushenberry, the center from LSU. Also 2 cornerbacks added to the list today. Let me get those names. You have Jalen Johnson and Cameron Dantzler, cornerbacks again. Not sure if formal or informal, but some probably just courtesy looks there.
Yeah, and a couple more underclassmen. Both those guys are underclassmen as well too. A little bit surprising, to see some defensive, cornerbacks, on the list, I guess. But look, I mean, they want a good profile on these players because a lot of times we see them circle back after 4 years in free agency and go after guys that they like. And, so overall, look, are we expecting them to draft a corner? No. Does it mean that they will? We don't know, but I don't think it's going to be early. I think you would agree it's not going to be a second or third round pick, but could it be a middle round guy, best available situation? I suppose. So once again, look, these are pieces of the puzzle. This is stuff we track. Obviously, when we get into get more into the pre-draft visits and the campus visits at the pro days and the dinners, those really start adding up.
That's where we really start paying close attention to these things because those are signs of serious interest historically under Mike Tomlin and Kevin Colbert. Okay, so let's jump into day one analysis. And what position do you want to start with, Dave? I'll let you choose receiver, tight end, or do you want to kick off with the quarterbacks?
I'd rather not. Let's get the quarterbacks out of the way because I don't have a lot to say on that. B, I don't think most of us really care about the quarterback group this year overall.
Right. And also, by the way, we do have our combine interview materials. That is also sticky to Steelers Depot. So if you want to keep the updated tracker of who the team's meeting with, we do have that on Steelers Depot. Okay, to the quarterbacks. Yeah, not a whole lot there. I don't think anyone did particularly well or particularly terrible. Jacob Eason, Jordan Love with big arms. I think it's still a good battle between Love and Herbert at the quarterback position. I'm still a big Jalen Hurts fan, not necessarily for Pittsburgh, but just overall. What's your take on the quarterbacks?
I like, Nate Stanley can sling that thing and spin it. You know, really good looking kid out of pads, I guess if you were saying. I really liked the way he can throw the football there. So that stuck out to me for sure. Obviously with Joe Burrow not participating, Jake Fromm. I've been kind of mixed on Jake Fromm right from the get-go, really dating back to because I kind of tend to watch a lot of Georgia stuff because I got a couple friends who are Georgia fans, and I kind of gravitated somewhat if I have a favorite SEC team, it's going to be Georgia kind of thing. So I knew a little bit more about Jake Fromm than any other quarterback probably coming into this draft because I watch him so much. But the accuracy with Jake Fromm still a concern, I think there, as is the arm strength. Going to be a real middle of the draft kind of guy, if you will. I thought, Jalen Hurts didn't have a great Senior Bowl week, right?
I thought it was decent. It wasn't amazing, but I thought he had a good week overall.
I think he's having himself an okay combine though. Overall, and he had a very entertaining whiteboard session with Mariucci that's worth watching if anybody hadn't. He comes off as a very bright, very good, nicely mannered kid. Overall. Now, do I think much of him as a quarterback? Well, look, he's got that, what do you call it, the it factor or whatnot. His ability to do stuff with his legs and stuff like that. Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, the big knock on Jalen Hurts is going to be arm strength, I think, and overall size there. So I think he ran the best 40 of the group, or pretty damn close to it. There. So, obviously the athletic profile is there. Justin Herbert, I thought he did fine, from what I paid attention to there. Shea Patterson, yikes. Maybe somebody take a flyer on that guy late 7th round. I wouldn't. I would make him a prior. If you want to bring him in as an undrafted free agent, I think that's fine there. And I think also, who was it? Steven Montez, I think, had a nice little showing during the combine there as well too. But obviously a group I'm not paying a lot of attention to, Alex, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's the one position we know the Steelers won't take, and so I haven't really invested too much time into it. I thought James Morgan from FIU's interesting. Yeah, Montez, Stanley could be some late-round sleepers. And yeah, Jalen Hurts, I've just kind of given consistently the Deshaun Watson comp. A lesser version of Deshaun Watson, not necessarily the first-round pick, and he won't be a first-round pick. But in terms of the off-the-field intangible leadership it factor, you kind of like, let's get this guy. He's going to rally the room. You're going to have faith in him. I kind of like look at Jalen Hurts similar to Deshaun Watson. So
4th or 5th round guy?
Yeah, quarterbacks always get elevated. And once you get the top 4 off the board, Burrow, Tua, Herbert, and Love, I think it gets pretty wide open in terms of who the next guy's going to be. Probably Eason. So, I think I could see Hurts going in the 3rd round, just because of the priority of the quarterback position.
Man, that still feels a little bit high to me, but I guess I wouldn't be shocked if it was kind of later 3rd round. We obviously don't expect the Steelers to have interest in a quarterback, right?
Right. No, the national media, I'm sure, will continue to write about it, regardless of what the Steelers say, which the Steelers are very clear in. We're happy with our quarterback situation. So let's move on to the tight ends. And I think it kind of summed up the class as a whole, where it's certainly not a banner year for tight ends, but there's still talent there and guys who impress. And I think obviously the most impressive name at tight end, and I'm going to have to learn how to pronounce his last name at this point with the workout he had, but Albert O from Missouri ran 4.49, almost 0.2 better than the next closest time overall for him in a class like this. That's a really strong number.
I didn't see it coming. I had him from looking at his tape as a 4.79 guy.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even a 4.81 guy when you look at him on tape. I didn't see that straight line speed. So what does that mean for me? I got to go back and watch him a little bit more. Maybe watch him a lot more when not targeted situations there. But I did a full contextual. He's one of the first tight ends that I did a full contextualization on, and I came away kind of meh.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a middle of the pack tight end. A potential, I don't know, fourth, third, maybe late third, very late third, more of a fourth, fifth round guy. I think even Pro Football Focus has him as a kind of a fifth round guy, if you will. I'm trying to find it right here. Oh, they have him as a sixth round projection.
Oh, wow.
And this is Pro Football Focus. And look, yeah, we all miss, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know specifically where these guys are going to go, but look, I mean, face it, I'm looking at their draft, what do they call it, their pre-draft report or whatever, that's for sale. It's well worth the money because of the stats alone in there. But they have all of his, all those depth and slot snaps and inline snaps and all the stats that they do in these things. And I'm trying to find his advanced stats here. Yards after the catch, I knew it was pretty decent. And they have it at 5.1. Missed tackles for us, he was third in had 3 of those, tied for 46 in the rank. Average depth of target 9.4, which is not awful. Deep receptions only 4. Okay, so
and that's 20 plus.
I believe that is 20 plus yards. Only receptions, only 4 receptions, 10 to 19 yards down the field. Now, granted, their quarterback situation last year was bad.
Right. He only caught like 30 passes last year, right? He didn't catch many balls.
Right. He didn't have many of them. Let's see if they have that total right here. 26. Yeah. 26 on 44 total targets, and he had 43, I think, the year before that when who was the kid, the quarterback?
Drew Lock.
Yeah, Drew Lock came out. So the first couple of years he was able to play with Drew Lock.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously his receptions went down. That's why I think I said in my contextualization of Albert O, need to go back and look at 2018 tape to maybe get a better idea of maybe what he is down the field there. But I don't know what, maybe it's because he's having to maybe he doesn't do a good job of processing and it causes him to play a little bit slower, but he doesn't look like that 4.4, what was it, 4.49?
Yep.
He doesn't play like that. So read into that what you will. And here's the other thing about it. It would have been nice to him to turn around and do, you're going to run that. Why not turn around and give us some more numbers to play with there? But, he didn't lift, and he didn't do anything else at the combine other than run his 40. So I found that disappointing.
Yeah, but hey, you're 6'5", 260 that runs 4.49. I mean, that is eye-popping, especially in this tight end class that is super weak. So it was a good workout for him, even though he only ran the 40.
Yeah, now we'll have to wait now for his pro day to get some of these other numbers filled in. Personally, I don't expect him to still come up. I mean, the 4.49 will help in his spark number, as will whatever his 10-yard split is, which we don't know what it is. Those numbers will obviously help in his spark number. But and look, I said I didn't think he was going to run that fast, and he did. Personally, though, when you look at him on tape, he don't look like he's all that twitchy of a player. But we'll get a better profile on him, of course, once stat wise when the pro day rolls around for him.
That is the concern with a lot of these tight ends, even someone like Cole Kmet from Notre Dame, who ran well 4.7 flat at 262 pounds. The change of direction. Are these guys just straight line players, or can they actually be able to change direction and run a whole route tree? Because even for a tight end, yeah, you're running a seam route, but beyond that, everything else is going to be involving changing direction, and that's where a lot of these guys seem to struggle, especially indicative based off their 3-cone times. But let's talk about our two, I think, favorite tight ends of the class. Your favorite, Charlie Warner, who I thought had a good workout, especially from a testing standpoint. I thought it was a good day for Charlie Warner.
Well, I mean, Adam Troutman. I also like Adam Troutman.
Yeah. Well, but I know, but you got a special place in your heart for Charlie Warner, I think.
I just think because he is pound for pound the best value tight end right now in this draft class, and he to me, you know what? I think if you stack these guys top to bottom as far as expectations and what they did, and I'm talking about the guys that did everything in here, I think you got to give Charlie Warner the gold medal. But quite personally, because look, I mean, 21 on the bench, not a bad number at all. I think, what did I say? T-Rex Charlie better do 21, 22, 23 reps on the bench. He did 21. Vertical jump, 34.5, not awful. 10-foot broad jump, not awful. 4.46 20-yard shuttle, which actually was maybe a tick or two better than what I thought it would be. And then a 3-cone drill of 7.18 to go along with the 4.78 40-yard dash. I knew that he would run probably right there at the 4.7776 area in the 40-yard dash. So top to bottom, really some respectable numbers across the board. Now, is he third round? Is he fourth round? I don't think so when it comes to that. But Pat Kerwin used to tell stories all the time about some of these stats that they would play with as front office guys, and this is well before obviously the dawn of the analytics that we have now. A lot of them would take the bench press. Mm-hmm. And then they take the vertical jump, and then they would take the decimal version of the broad jump and add those three numbers together and get what they call an explosion number. And anytime you get an explosion number of 70 or above, you're dealing with a super explosive athlete. If you get them in the mid 60s, they're really worth talking about and taking a deep look at. Well, I went ahead of this and compiled some of these explosion numbers for the tight ends that did everything at the combine. And guess who was the top explosion number and the only one that had one in the 70s there?
I'm guessing it's Charlie Warner.
No, actually it's Hosea DeGuara. Isn't he from Cincinnati?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I talked to him at the Senior Bowl. Kind of high H-back hybridish, but a good workout for him.
Yeah, and I think top to bottom. Well, you want to talk about a Kyle Usack kind of player, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's never really worked as a fullback before, but I can kind of see that. Yeah, I like his tape. I like his effort. Yeah, I get what you're getting at.
So he had an explosion number of 70.08. Second place was Charlie Warner, 65.5. Third place would have been, let's see, Dalton Keene, another guy that kind of projects to that H-back, fullback kind of player, right? From what I've seen. I don't know. I haven't gone deep into his tape yet. But he posted what's going to turn out to be a probably the best spark number for the tight ends, and I kind of back calculated that as around 127 for Dalton Keene, which is easily the highest of the class. I think second was that Charlie
Charlie T. Yeah, I won't even try to say. I don't know how to pronounce the last name. Charlie T.
But those two were your most athletic there. And then obviously Bryson Hopkins out of Purdue had a 64.17 explosion number, which isn't bad. And then Hunter Bryant posted a 65.08 number there. Now, all that is just lower body explosion. Kind of number measurement, very outdated one at this point. I think something that stuck out other than Albert O's 40 time was the was what was it? Not the 3-cone. For Troutman. What number am
No,
I looking?
the 3-cone.
Oh,
6, 7, 8 3-cone.
Yeah, the 6, 7, 8 3-cone for Troutman was boy, for a big guy his size, that's not bad at all. And I know a lot of people, there's probably going to be a lot of talk about, man, Troutman running a 4.8 40. What's up with that? Well, he's a big boy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even though I kind of expect him to run 4.76, I guess, 4.78 around in there, not too far terribly off. But where he really makes his makes this up at is his agility and not just being a straight line guy.
Right. 6.78 3-cone was the second best time of the receivers. Only Tencel Mims did better in the 3-cone for the wide receivers. We know how good this wide receiver class is. So yeah, I didn't expect, you expected Troutman to run fast, like running the 4.6s. You're just setting yourself up for being wrong and having way too high expectations. But you watch him on tape, you watch him through the drills even yesterday, the way he just moves so much better in actual football drills and environments as opposed to a straight line 40 time for being a big guy like he is. So I was really happy with his workout overall. I think Bryson Hopkins from Purdue had a good workout like Charlie Warren, had a great workout, running a 4.66 tied for the second best 40 time of any tight end at the combine. And I thought in workouts, in the drills, he did well. In the gauntlet, he caught the ball well, adjusted well, and overall had a solid workout. So my thoughts and feelings are really unchanged on Bryson Hopkins.
Boy, a lot of those guys didn't know what to do with that sled.
Yeah, Warner even struggled. Like he almost tipped it over. He went straight up.
Yeah, he went straight up with it. You know, he showed his strength.
Yeah, I guess, but the sled didn't move.
But the technique wise, all of them, you know, for the most part, didn't look good. I wonder how many of them knew that. I don't think a lot of them knew this was coming though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, hopefully they knew. Poor job either by the NFL to communicate that or agents to work with that. I don't know how much they train on that, but two guys I thought that did well that I need to go back because I know almost nothing about. You mentioned the one earlier, Dalton Keene from Virginia Tech, 6'4", 253. I thought actually on the sled he did a decent job. Caught the ball well, ran decent at 4.71, and then Domwood Anderson from Tennessee, 6'3.5", 261. Didn't run well, but in terms of just kind of a blocker, huge lower half, I think he did the best job on the sled to stay low, keep leverage, hands inside, drive your feet, and actually move the sled. And 35-inch vertical is kind of indicative of that big lower half that he has. So that's a late round, day 3, maybe even UDFA kind of guy because he ran a 4.92. But in terms of a blocker, I thought that was really impressive. You know,
right out of the chute when we started talking about tight ends, Senior Bowl time, there was a lot of talk about Jared Pinkney and all. I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, the dude ran 4.96. I think he's got good hands. He can catch in traffic, but that's about it. He's not a particularly good blocker. He's certainly not an athlete. The number indicates that. So Pinkney, the history of tight ends that run 4.9 plus at the combine is pretty limited in terms of success stories.
But I think a guy, Tom Meade, was kind of higher on right out of the chute. The Stanford kid, Colby Parkinson, is another guy I need to kind of learn a little bit more about. 6'7", 2.8, on top of it. So pretty big kid. To go with what did he run, a 4.77?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is good for him.
So look at some of these estimated 10-yard splits on these guys. I have Bryson Hopkins at 1.64. Which would have been obviously the second best, or tied for the second best with Stephen Sullivan, and then Charlie Warner not too far behind, along with Troutman at 1.68 estimated 10-yard split. There are a few of them there with some, a few of them a little bit lower there. Harrison, Bryant, and DeGuaria, 1.66 10-yard splits. Not that number is really used all that much when you talk about tight ends, but just part of the equation there.
In terms of the guys I thought struggled the most, Mitchell Wilcox had just a really tough workout overall.
Oh, Lord, hit him in the coconut.
Yeah, turned the wrong way in the gauntlet. Really dropped a lot of passes the entire day. I think he said something about his eye was swollen, and then he got hit. I'm not sure what the whole deal is there. I think he is still interesting, but ran 4.88. I mean, his explosive numbers were poor, 7.37 3-cone. Just not a good day overall for him, unfortunately. And then one guy who didn't work out but continues to get bad news basically since the championship game is Thaddeus Moss, who has a Jones fracture in his right foot. I believe it's going to keep him out for like 2 months. So didn't work out at all, hadn't planned to work out, and then gets flagged in medical checkups, and his stock continues to, I think, fall even in a weak tight end class.
Boy, where do you have him at now?
I think I had him as like a mid-late day 2 in my player profile, but I'm gonna have to go back and edit that because it's not gonna be a day 2 guy at this point with his limited athletic profile. And the problem with him is the injury factor too, because he had a Jones fracture in his other foot in like 2018, had to get 2 surgeries on that because the first one didn't heal it properly. So now this is a guy that's gonna have 3 surgeries in like 2 or 3 years on both feet. Not a great athlete to begin with, under 6'2". Again, there is good tape out there, and he's a good blocker, and I think he's a smart player, and all the things about my scouting report of him. But everything since that title game has just been bad news for Thaddeus Moss.
Any chance the Steelers? Any chance he winds up at the Steelers now at this point?
I mean, again, there are still reasons to believe that, but as soon as he came in under 6'2", I went, dude, that's just not going to cut it. I mean, look at the guys they've drafted last. Zach Gentry, Jesse James. Those guys are skyscrapers. So I'm looking at someone like a Colby Parkinson that makes more sense than a Thaddeus Moss. So I'm not going to say no because he's going to be likely a day 3 guy. Who knows at that point. But my feeling with the tight end, for as much as I've talked about, like tight end, you got to invest, and I still believe that if you can get somebody like a Hopkins or a Trotman, you got to really take a long look at that. But if you can't, I have the same philosophy as tight end as I kind of do running back, as in if you don't get one early on day 2, then just punt the position because this class is so weak in terms of the back end, the depth of it overall, that if you're taking one in the 5th or 6th round, like what's that doing for you? That's not going to be a long-term investment. It's probably not worth it to take it. So if you can get one early, great. I'm all for, especially a guy like Bryson Hopkins, but if you can't get one early, just punt because it's not going to be worth taking.
Whoa, no, wait, isn't that basically what I've been trying to say?
I don't remember. I mean, you tell me, but I'm still adamant in terms of taking.
I say you just investment. I say you don't take one just to take one.
Well, yeah, but I mean we all know that. Like I agreed on that statement.
No, you were saying, look, I think this team needs to be heavily criticized if they don't come out of this draft with a tight end.
If they have an opportunity to get one of the top guys and they don't do it, then I'm going to be critical.
Right, but that's based on where you think you have these guys.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, do you want them to spend a 2nd round pick on a guy that might be a full round later tight end?
Well, if someone can be a long-term guy, in my view, it's my own criticism, it's my own opinion, of course. Then yeah, I'm going to be critical of it. But if they can't get that guy, then I'm okay with punting on the position if you can't get one. I've always advocated the long-term option. So if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Then I just don't think there's a day 3 guy that's really like sticking out to me.
You don't think Charlie's worth a 6th or 7th round pick to see what you get there?
I mean, I like Charlie Warner. I like the blocking aspect.
Yeah. How much of his tape have you watched?
I mean, just some highlights. I mean, I haven't dug into it deep. I know that he's a good blocker, and that's kind of what you're getting with Charlie Warner. But I prefer not to draft blocking tight ends. I know the value of them. I prefer not to draft that kind of stuff because I think I can get that in a veteran guy that's proven in the NFL, that's dirt cheap. I can go out there and sign. So I prefer not to draft a pure blocking type, a tight end, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So, and honestly, they're using the lineman half the time anyway. So it's just like I just don't see that investment because the upside is so limited. I'd rather go out there and get a veteran. So, yeah, like I said, it's a class that has some talent, but the depth is certainly not there, and it is not one of the stronger tight end classes. So I'm looking at Hopkins. I'm looking at Trotman early. Maybe they'll like Cole Kmet. I mean, Parkinson kind of fits what they look for. Albert O is there, but once you get into day 3 and these guys are off the board, the class gets really weak.
And that's what I've said right from the get-go is this class is meh.
Yeah. Well, I still think there's talent at the top, but I think the depth, I think it's shallow, and even the talent at the top is not as good as, say, last year.
I still think at the top here. Look, I think there's a good chance both Troutman and Bryson Hopkins are on the board at 49.
Yeah. How strongly? No, I know you wouldn't know the rest of the board, but how strongly would you consider taking one of those guys at 49?
Ooh.
Would you consider it at all? I guess. I mean,
I would consider it, but man, I don't know if either one of these guys are going to end up being a top 49 player. Troutman, I think you can make an argument for being top 50 player.
Mm-hmm. I mean, who do you think is the first tight end off the board? Is it Albert O because he ran 4.49? Because it's Cole Kmet, who kind of conventionally.
People are all over the place on Albert O. All over the place.
Right. I mean, they're all over the place on this whole tight end class.
I have seen Albert O 1st round. I've seen Albert O 3rd round. I've seen Albert O 4th round, and I've seen Albert O 6th round. Mm-hmm. Do I think 6 rounds late? Yeah. I mean, I think that's off. I think he'll be off the board before then. I don't think any of these guys are 1st round. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think, like I said, I think really the only two where I'm at right now as potential second round guys, I just Hunter Bryant in that 6022, man. I mean, just
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he can do some other things and all, but I mean, is he going to be a guy? Man, if you're going to spend a second round, here's the thing: if you're going to spend a second round draft pick on a player, you're going to hope that that player plays 70 to 75% of snaps, right?
At least half. I forget what the numbers I've looked at in the past, but they got to make an impact year one, absolutely.
But I'm talking long term of career.
Yeah, you're drafting them for a long term investment. That's to be a starter, sure.
To be 70% or better player, playing time. I'm not convinced Hunter Bryant is that guy. You know.
Mm-hmm. And in Pittsburgh, when you're 6'2", the history's not on their side.
So once again, you go back to who are the guys I like early, and I think I said the other day, Bryson Hopkins and Trotman, I think are the top, to me, the top two. Probably not too far behind. I don't know where is Cole Kmet and Alberto.
Mm-hmm. And that's about it.
And then really that's it. Unless you're going to wait later and get a Charlie Warner in the 6th or 7th round. To me, there's nothing else that really interests me.
Mm-hmm. I'm kind of with you. So I think I have warmed up to your position a little bit, but I still will strongly advocate if you can get one of those guys that I view as a long-term starter, you really got to look at doing. I'm not saying, I'm not going to say you have to do it because I don't like using those have-to words and forcing yourself into a box, but I just recognize the lack of investment in tight end this team has made in terms of the draft, and I know that that's got to change sooner rather than later.
So knowing that we just built a list of, let's say, 6 guys that either one of us might be comfortable with at the tight end. And look, I got to watch more Colby Parkinson. Maybe he's on that list as well too. But let's even say I like Parkinson enough to throw Charlie off the list of 6 or whatever that I'd be comfortable with at any point during the draft. There, you can't go into this draft tight end poor, thinking, well, we got to get one of these 6 guys.
Sure.
There. So that goes back to the discussion once again. Is Vance McDonald going to survive March 18th? What's going to happen with Nick Vannett? If Nick Vannett hits free agency, he's going to have a few suitors out there, I think. I mean, not major contract, but maybe a team willing to pay him a little bit more than the Steelers. So, but regardless, I with Zach Gentry being potentially the only guy left on your depth chart, you got to retain at least one of those 2 guys in Vance McDonald and Nick Vannett prior to the draft, and maybe even both.
Yeah, they're definitely going to keep one. There's no doubt about that. It could be both, absolutely. I mean, the way you could do it is if you're Pittsburgh is say, let's pick up Vance's option. Let's re-sign Vannett to basically the minimum, and hopefully we can draft a tight end early. And if we do, they'll battle out in camp, and maybe Vannett is the guy who gets one of those veteran cuts at the end of training camp. And if not, and a tight end doesn't present itself, then you just roll with the same 3 that you have, and hopefully with a maybe healthier Vance and a healthy Ben, things get a little bit better in that regard, and Vannett getting comfortable with his first full-time year as a Pittsburgh Steelers. So that might be their approach, to just pick up both, hope for the draft early. If not, then roll with what you have.
And I go back to what I said. Look, I don't. The long and short of it, I still think they draft a tight end, but I will not be shocked if they don't.
Yeah, again, I think it's early or bust. I think drafting one in the 5th round or whatever just isn't worth it. It doesn't make your team any better. So I hear you.
Yeah, I still have Trotman over Hopkins there, but I mean, to me, those 2 are the top 2 guys, and like I said, and I think you're with me, somewhere after those guys is probably a Cole Kmet and an Alberto. Now, got to watch this Dalton. I gotta watch a little bit more Dalton Keene. I got to watch a little bit more Colby Parkinson, but I've watched enough of Charlie Warner. But that's where I'm at on when it comes to this positional group.
And for my final thought with the tight end group is that I don't know the order of where these guys are going to go. Like, I assume that a tight end will be off the board before 49. History says it almost guaranteed a tight end will be off the board before then. But in this class, with it all over the map, I have no idea. Could Cole Kmet be the first tight end off the board? Absolutely. Could it be Alberto? Absolutely. Could it be Trotman? Absolutely. Could it be Hopkins? Sure. So, I just don't know what the board is even going to look like when it comes time for Pittsburgh to pick in the second and third round.
Let me tell you a book that I love that I've bought now for I think this is a third year in a row. It's well worth the money because you can just pick it up and at a moment's notice thumb to a page here and get some detailed stats and rankings on some guys. The SIS Sports Info Solutions Football Rookie Handbook, the comprehensive scouting and analytics guide for 2020. Once again, put out by Sports Info Solutions. You can buy that online. They just released this thing. I ordered it the day they put up the thing a couple of days ago. It already came to the house, and not many things I look forward to on daily basis, but getting this in the mail certainly was one of them. You know who their top, now granted, like everybody else, the analysis part of it can surely be questioned. Okay, but they do have what the book is mostly worth is the damn detailed stats they have in this thing. You know who their number one tight end is?
I couldn't even tell you. I don't know. Parkinson, I'll guess.
Jared Pinkney.
Oh wow, that's got to change. That's pre-combine information. So
oh yeah. I mean, I don't know when this thing actually went to printer here. But, I would Jared Pinkney, 1 of 21. Number 2, Adam Troutman. So at least they got that maybe part of it right. Number 3, Cole Kmet.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of NFL circles like Kmet, but I know the tape can be, where do you find the big-time plays? I mean, with Pinkney, his tape isn't terrible, but it's not great, and the testing just makes it look 10 times worse.
Hunter Bryant. The fourth one in here, Thaddeus Moss, number 5. Ugh.
It's gonna change.
Devin, Asiasi, out of UCLA, number 6. Harrison Bryant, T-Rex Bryant, out of Florida Atlantic is number 7. Bryson Hopkins out of Purdue, number 8. One spot ahead of Cheyenne O'Grady, who I was hoping Cheyenne Grady would test better than what he tested there. 4.81. Ugh.
Yeah, I thought Harrison Bryant's workout was pretty poor. 4.73, 13 reps with 30 and 5/8 arms on the bench. 32 and a half.
There's no excuse. If you got short arms, you better put that bar up a few times.
Yeah, I mean he was dead last. So.
And they have Albert to close out the top 10. Albert O. Ranked 10th of 21st. Charlie Warner, not even in the book.
The disrespect. He's the Rodney Dangerfield of the tight end class.
Yeah. Would you agree? You got to watch more. I think if anything, I proved that Charlie's draftable.
He is. No, I saw your report, and I've seen the clips that you've shown. Yeah, I mean, there's value in being a blocker because it is so hard to find in college football good blockers, especially ones that have at least, as he's shown in the testing, a serviceable amount of athleticism. Like Donwood Anderson, for example, 4.92, it's still tough to justify as a draft. But Warner running 4.78, 34.5-inch vertical, 10 in the broad, 7.18 in the 3-cone for what he is. I mean, that's solid. You can draft that and live with that. So, yeah, I think he will get drafted, and he should get drafted.
I think teams that wait and want to take get potentially a good blocking tight end with maybe some upside as receiver ability, that's where he goes. But really, that's even the only one I think I would consider kind of late at this point. But all right, boy, we've been all. I mean, we've probably the position group we've talked the most about throughout this whole offseason, I think, has been tight end, hasn't it?
And we've gotten more and more cynical about it. I think the more we've talked about this class, it is tough for sure. Like someone asked me, where would Foster Moreau rank in this year's class had he been part of it? He'd be up there.
Oh, yeah, he'd be up there for sure.
Yeah, so... Yeah,
would Zach Gentry even have a better go around earlier?
It'd be better, but I don't know. I still wouldn't need to be part of the guys I prefer not to take on day 3.
But, Foster Moreau probably goes third round in this class easily.
Yeah. Last question. Stephon Sullivan from LSU ran well, 4.66, but he just feels so straight-line-ish, and I don't know where to play him. I guess he's a tight end, but such a long, lanky frame that's not going to be an asset as a blocker. I just don't know what to do with a guy like Stephon Sullivan.
I don't either, but, the two guys that he still ran a little bit quicker than what I thought he would run.
Yeah, he ran second best 4.66.
So what were the biggest surprises overall when it comes to when it comes to this group of tight ends on the field at the combine. Personally, I would say the Joseph DeGuara would be one, or Joshua or Hosea DeGuara would be one of them. I think Sullivan in that 40 time would be one of them. I think Albert O definitely in that 40 time. I mean, that's the biggest surprise. I think what else was a surprise here?
To me, it was Albert O and Trotman's Rico in terms of the testing.
Right, and Sullivan's 40 time probably.
Yeah. But I thought Sullivan would run decent because he's a super long strider and a former receiver. So I guess I'm not shocked by that, but it is an impressive time considering the class.
And I don't know, maybe you throw Dalton Keene into that too, because like I said, I think when it comes to just these group of tight ends, as best as I can back engineer, re-engineer the spark number and all, I think he's going to be the sparkiest of the group.
Yeah, Keene's the one guy I want to go back and watch. And then Sean McKeon didn't work, and I was disappointed in McKeon not working. I don't know if there's an injury there or not, but a good blocker as well.
Yeah,
all right, Dave.
Got several incomplete profiles on a lot of these guys that might not even get filled in. Pinckney didn't do a lot of stuff. Over half of them didn't do everything. So that's disappointing.
Yeah. All right, Dave, let's move on to a more exciting group, wide receiver. And while it may not, and it isn't one of the Steelers' top needs, when you're sitting there at 49, it may be impossible to ignore because this receiver is so good, and they proved it yesterday, kind of who stuck out to you in probably a good way of the receiver group.
Boy, the guy that I had in my first mock draft, Justin Jefferson, I thought, going into last night, I still had this kind of hope that potentially with this class being so good, so deep, that maybe he's a guy that's still on the board at 49. I'm not so sure.
He ran out of your mock draft. He ran his way.
Yeah, I damn near jumped out of it too. 37.5-inch vertical, 10-foot 6-inch broad jump. One of the better broad jumps of this group, and putting that Moses Malone up 4-4-4 certainly did not hurt his cause. What an incredible kid to watch his tape, man. I mean, you watch his tape and then you go watch somebody else, ranked under him, and you really start finding that other player's faults real easily there. And I think Justin Jefferson's 40 time was one of the most anticipated of this group yesterday, because really when you see him on tape, you get more of a 4-5 feel for him. So the fact that, still does he look like he plays that fast? I don't know. I'll tell you this, that kid can separate at the top of a route with the ball in the air. So I don't know if that's just ability, combined with straight line speed or what, but that is evident on there. So in a deep wide receiver class, even though it is deep, I'm not so sure that he's a guy that'll be at number 49 on the board. If he is, boy, somebody ought to break their damn leg trying to get up there with that card on him.
Yeah, because he profiles as a slot-type receiver. Am I wrong on that? I mean, he can play probably anywhere, but he can play in the slot, correct?
Well, yeah, nearly all of his snaps the last year was that. But he did play more. He did move around more the previous year and still had production.
Right. But, I mean, the point is a 4-4-3 receiver in the slot at that size is a weapon and a half. Man.
Holy cow, you're not kidding. And the guy can do the little things as well too, and boy, that slot fade, man. Have fun trying to cover him on that. Obviously can do the underneath crossing stuff as well, the slants, and not afraid to take a wallop over the middle of the field. Circle his name. I'm not so sure if he'll be on the board at 49 now, but if he is. Good football family, bloodline, all that kind of stuff. Good kid overall, come out of Power 5 school. Tough to not draft him if he's on the board at 49.
I get asked about my draft crushes a lot, and I pointed to Hopkins some, but I have a clear leader in the clubhouse when it comes to draft crushes, and it's a guy I've talked about for a while now. It's Denzel Mims from Baylor, who I think had the number one workout of anybody at the combine issue. Maybe when all is said and done, we'll have the best workout of anybody here at Indy. 6'3", 207, runs 4.38, which I did not see coming. 38.5 in the vert, 10-11 in the broad, and then a class-leading 6.66 three-cone at 6'3", 207 at his size. Unbelievable. So Denzel Mims, again, if he's there at 49, I don't know exactly how he would fit into Pittsburgh. I'm not even really expecting him to be there at 49 at this point, but man, his tape is awesome. His production is great. His blocking is tenacious. Love Denzel Mims.
Well, all you have to do is just watch his tape. And
Mm-hmm.
I did a full contextualization on him after you talked about him so much right out of the chute. It's all there with him on the field.
Yeah.
Every bit of it. The off the line, the ability to quick slant, the ability to catch the football with his hands away from the body, the ability to climb the ladder and go get them, the body control on the sideline with Mims. Boy, the contested catch ability. The only other thing, maybe you like him to block a little bit and be a little bit more tenacious as a blocker, maybe.
Oh, I love his blocking. I
You
think it's one of
know,
the best things about him. I think he gets after it better than anybody else. I think the concern with him is just that the route tree was a little limited, and can he run the whole thing and get in and out of his breaks on a 10-yard dig? But I think if we look at some of these agility numbers, I think you kind of see some of that overall athleticism.
but you just look at him top to bottom in the measurables as well too. The long arms with him. I mean, I don't know what else he needs to do to get
Right.
himself into the top, let's say 50. I mean, I think he's within the 50 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, man, we're talking about a deep wide receiver class here. But he's another guy along with Jefferson now that you really have to kind of wonder would be on the board at 49. But if he was, boy, you could certainly see him landing in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and I know, again, where does he fit exactly? And you have your three starters, but when you're 49, you just want to get good talent because you're missing out on that first round prize, and you just want to get someone who can be a starter somewhere and contribute to your team in an impactful way at some point sooner rather than later. And Mims, I think, can be that guy. So I mean, it's crazy. There was one receiver draft in the first round last year, and that was a 160-pound receiver with a broken foot, and there would have been maybe 10 guys drafted in the first round this year. And I'm being a little hyperbolic there, but this receiver class is so good. Henry Ruggs, the third, ran the most disappointing 4.27 40 you're ever going to see. Everyone wanted to break John Ross's record, didn't do it, but still had absurdly good numbers. Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, I thought had a good workout overall. I mean, just this receiver class is absolutely loaded.
I mean, there's going to be at least six going the first round, right?
Yeah, I think 5 or 6. I mean, you don't know what happens at the back end of the last, 7 picks or so, but I think comfortably you can say that 5 or 6 will go or have a really good shot of going.
All right, we talked the other day about Chase Claypool and a little bit of the weight gain there, and saying that supposedly he was on he was on board with position switch, and we applaud him for wanting to maybe do that and all, and then he goes out and he runs a 4.42, leaps out of the building at 40 and a half inches, has a broad jump of 10 foot 6 inches. He's a monster too. He's 6'4" and 2.8, 238. For him, now I don't know. They say they were going to reweigh these guys prior to the events. I don't know if I know agents were saying no. We don't want you to reweigh. Tell them you're not going to reweigh or any of that. And here's the other report I had heard about the 238 weighing in at 238 from Brady Quinn. I think they maybe said this during the broadcast. That Chase said, I just drank way too much water.
Right.
And got him up. That's a lot of damn water, though. But regardless, I don't care what weight he ran that 4.42 at. Or jump the 40.5 or jump the 10.6. That's impressive numbers across the board there. And I already did a contextualization on him. And we talked about what an athlete and what a leaper and contested ball catcher and ability to get down the field he is. I don't think he needs to move to tight end from where I sit right now.
Those numbers are hard to argue about, being an inline hand in dirt kind of guy. And I think he had said that teams weren't really looking him to be an actual true tight end, just doing some kind of big slot work kind of stuff. And, his blocking ability and his kind of 1-2 as a blocker can help. So I don't know if, like for Pittsburgh, he's not going to be, a true inline tight end. He kind of be that big slot receiver who can block a little and do some stuff on the perimeter in that regard. So it's kind of a weird projection because you got to figure out exactly how you want to use him. And again, in Pittsburgh, he's not going to be, a true 3-point stance tight end, which is good based off of those numbers. But I think fans are getting a little too over the top about making this sort of full-time conversion to tight end. It's not going to happen.
I don't see it either, and I think I said as much. It's a tough conversion to make.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard projection. It's a hard thing to project to. However, now, could he still be in play for the Steelers as a wide receiver?
Yeah, with those kind of numbers, that's possible. Yeah, I think, with the good thing with receiver is that you don't need a type of guy this year. You have 3 starters. It's not like last year where you're trying to replace AB at DX. You had to have a kind of more specific skill set. This year, it's kind of dealer's choice. I think there's a lot of value in a slot guy, middle of the field guy. I've talked about that plenty. But if you want some sort of big triangle jump ball machine, I mean, that can work as well. You're not committed to necessarily a type. You're just trying to get talent at 49. So yeah, I don't think it's impossible. I just want to put it in the perspective of he's still going to be really a stand-up slot outside receiver kind of guy and not an inline hand the dirt tight end.
Right, but I mean, if you dropped him as a wide receiver, I right now from where I sit, I don't have a problem with it. The problem is trying to figure out where he goes now.
Right, but if you can't figure out how to make that work, then I think it's on the coaching staff for not making a 6'5", 238 guy who runs 4.4 to work. I mean, that's a skill set you can work with, absolutely.
I mean, he's going to have a super sparky number once. I didn't have time to back engineer the wide receiver group there, but at those, I mean, there was a tweet last night kind of comparing some of the numbers to Megatron.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if receivers are like, 235 plus, him and Calvin are the only two that have run like sub 4.5 or something like that.
All right, who else? T. Higgins just wanted to rest. Didn't he say earlier in the week he was going to do this and do that and put up this time, and then he goes out and just doesn't do it. He didn't participate at all, didn't even lift. You know?
Yeah.
Will that hurt his stock a lot? Any? Probably not. I mean, he is who he is on the field, but it can't make a lot of teams happy if he's healthy, right?
Mm-hmm. Especially in a class of really good receivers who are out there having great workouts. For Higgins to take that back seat probably means he didn't feel like he was going to test well in this class. So yeah, a little disappointing there for Higgins. One guy that's interesting, and I know I've talked a lot about. I'm basically against taking a running back, but I really like Antonio Gibson from Memphis, and he worked out with the receivers. I really think he's probably more of a running back at the next level, but the dude ran 4.39 at 228 pounds, had good numbers overall. That's a guy I would be interested in, and just kind of being like a better version of Jalen Samuels. I don't mean to pick on Samuels too much, but I just get frustrated.
He's expendable. He's expendable.
Yeah. I mean, and he's going to probably be fighting for a roster spot heading into camp, even if they don't draft somebody. His spot is not guaranteed. But I just want, like, Sam was supposed to be that versatile guy that, is a defined running back, but you can move around and be an asset in the screen game and the slot game and stuff like that. But he's just not really that kind of guy. I mean, he has 200 career touches, and his longest play is 27 yards. He's got 2% rate of, plays of 20-plus yards. So I want someone that's more explosive, more dynamic in the pass game. I think Gibson is certainly that kind of guy. So while I'm not banging on the table for a receiver, that's the type of hybrid type guy that I'd be very interested in. I think Antonio Gibson from Memphis, only 1 year production. There's concerns there, but 4.39 to 230 pounds is really impressive.
I think Jalen Reagor was who he is in the testing.
Well, he's supposed to run faster, and he came in at 206. I don't know why he weighed in so heavy. He's supposed to run on the 4.3s. He ran 4.47, and his street cone was 7.31, which is not what matches with the tape. So there's some weird stuff there with Jalen Reagor, I think.
I still don't view him as being overly shifty, I guess, from what I've seen.
Yeah, but 7.31 is like bad. I mean, that's a really bad time just overall.
Yeah, maybe it had something to do with his training or whatnot.
Yeah, maybe he slipped. I mean, we don't get to see these things, obviously, but I don't know why he weighed in so heavy. Like, he was listed at 195 at TCU, comes in at 206. No one really needed him to play at 206. I like him. I don't think I like him as much as some people are putting him as like a top 3 receiver. I don't know if he's
I don't think he's a top 3 by any stretch, but I think he is in that think he's in that top 15 though.
Oh yeah, for sure. I compare him to Andre Roberts. It's kind of my comp for him, and actually the 40 times the line better than I thought they would. So that's kind of my view with him. And that's not a slight against. I think maybe he's a better version of Andre Roberts, but that's kind of my view of him.
All right, who else? Mooney. I got to watch some tape on Mooney.
Yeah, you got to watch tape on Mooney. I got to watch tape on Quez Watkins from Southern Miss. I mean, that's a guy I knew nothing about. 6'1" or 6 foot, 185, ran 4.35. I mean, had some really good testing overall. I think he's got a good production with Southern Miss, so that's the guy I want to look at. Joe Reed from Virginia was one of my first draft profiles. I think ran well, 4.47, 38-inch vert, 10.3 in the broad, at 224 pounds with great kick return productivity. Virginia kid. I could see that as a day 3, fly for Pittsburgh.
Who else stuck out? Obviously, CeeDee's going to be long gone off the board.
Mm-hmm.
By the time Judy. Van Jefferson, poor Van Jefferson, another kid with a foot problem.
Yeah, so that's a great Senior Bowl, really good separator. Disappointed he couldn't work out. I wish James Prochet would have run the 40. I was kind of disappointed he didn't, but I still like him. And Michael Pittman. I've been kind of critical of Michael Pittman, but he ran well. 4.52 is a very good number for him.
I'm trying to think of anybody else who on this list that I have not contextualized would you next like to see contextualized?
Oh, well, I know you've contextualized half the class already.
I mean, I've obviously done 6, 7 of them, but
well, I think the one guy that you got to look at, productivity wasn't there, and you can blame some of it on quarterback play, but the measurables are just off the charts. Donovan Peoples-Jones. I mean, 6'1", 212, 4.48, 44.5-inch vert, 11.7 in the broad, but the dude only had 34 catches last year. Now, part of that is Shea Patterson's a pretty bad quarterback, but can you blame it all on quarterback play? Like, why wasn't this guy more productive? And I want to watch his film. So Donovan Peoples-Jones is a guy to check out. Yeah,
a good kid, I think, too. If I remember from that Michigan, what was that, Amazon series or whatnot that I went back and watched last season after Bush was drafted. He seemed to be a good character kid when it comes to that. There, KJ Hamler out of Penn State. I finally got around. Unfortunately, he's not doing anything at the combine didn't do anything at the combine due to a hamstring injury, and that's too damn bad. You know it. Because I really wanted to see, after watching his tape the other night, really wanted to see him on the field. Obviously, a smaller kid, 5'8", and 5'8", 178, really profiles. You keep hearing the Tyreek Hill comparison and all, and I'm thinking, okay. Well, I put on tape on him. Yeah, I kind of see it. This guy, boy, his average catch down the field was way down the field. Hey, obviously able to do a lot of good things after the catch and all like that. For a small kid, kind of put together nicely, able to take a little bit of a wallop there on top of it. So yeah, I thought I was disappointed that he didn't. All he did was bench, and he put up 15 for his size. I don't think he did put up 15, didn't he? Isn't that what we have? I thought that was a number that we had on Hamler.
For Hamler, let me see here. Yeah, 15, which is a great number for his frame.
Right. For him, that's absolutely great. And yeah, he's got shorter arms and a little bit smaller hands, and actually hands probably for his size not all that bad, but obviously the arms are a little bit shorter there, but still can get a few contested catches down the field too. So when you're looking outside of, I still think he's outside of the top 15. Probably receivers in this class, but probably not too far out of it. And boy, he has some return ability on top of it. So, if you're looking, I don't know if he's late 3rd or 4th round, probably somewhere in that area. Somebody you probably have to consider there.
Yeah, KJ Hill kind of showed he's a slot receiver running just 4.6 flat, but I still think on tape, be able to win one-on-one, beat man coverage against these slot corners is impressive. Juwan Jennings, I knew he was not going to run well, but 4.72 is probably a little worse than what I was hoping for. But if he somehow hypothetically were to fall out of this draft entirely because of the depth of this class in that 40 time, man, I'm bringing him to Pittsburgh because I think Juwan Jennings is just a really impressive guy on tape and a really unique, rare build for that ultra big, ultra physical slot receiver.
Yeah, I think you mentioned Quez Watkins as a guy I know nothing about there. I'm trying to think who else I need to go
Laviska Shenault, we haven't talked really about Shenault at all, who had a groin injury, I think, and that's why his 40 time was poor, didn't run a second time, but a guy that the NFL seems to like a whole lot.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything on him yet. Brandon, how do you pronounce it? Ayuk, out of Arizona State had. Well, I think he is who he is. Boy, leapt out of the building at 40 inches there, 10'8" broad jump, but overall kind of profiles as a mid-round, maybe a top 15 guy.
Yeah, Ayuk's the guy I probably want to go back and do some more homework on. He couldn't participate in the Senior Bowl, if I'm remembering that correctly, so that was kind of disappointing. But, good workout for him, and I think he was even disappointed in that 40 time. He thought he would run faster, so maybe at his pro day he gets in the 4.4s.
Good class, I'll tell you that. I don't know if I'm trying to remember back, last time we saw this deep of a class here of good wide receivers. Somebody's going to get them a good damn wide receiver in the third round.
I mean, is it fair to say that Pittsburgh could be looking at this position pretty closely at 49, even knowing it's not a pressing need?
I think so. I think so.
I think so, too, just because that value is so good. And you got to be 4 deep at a receiver. I mean, somebody goes down, you got to have the ability to have somebody step in and produce. And with Juju, still not sure where his future is going to be. I mean, going into the last year of his rookie deal. I think that it would not surprise me to see him take a receiver on day 2.
I think second or third round, look, they're going to take one.
Yeah.
We just don't know when, and odds are probably good that they take one within their first 3 selections in this year's draft, So do the math.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if the tight end class is poor and you just say, let's get a middle of the field threat, then the tight end isn't there, then let's just take a slot type of receiver and have them kind of be that quasi tight end in the sense of somebody that can make plays between the numbers. So I don't know. There'll be options though. I mean, the value and the talent will be there for Pittsburgh on day 2.
If they can get them one of these, underclassmen receivers we just talked about, at 49, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I know it would not shock me, but we'll see. I mean,
what's going to be available at past 100 there, wherever the third round compensatory pick lands at?
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's where it becomes a little bit gray because, like I said just a little while ago, I think teams are going to get them a good damn receiver in the third round, but I think the line in the sand really gets drawn once you get past that. I don't know, top 15.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, once you're heading into day 3 for any position, I think it gets kind of fuzzy. I mean, I just look at it and say that, yes, tight end to me is a bigger need on paper. Yes, interior offensive line probably going to be a bigger need on paper, but is the class of those positions strong enough to support taking them over receiver, where I'm sure from a grade standpoint, you're going to have guys, rated higher than the other 2 positions. So it'll be definitely interesting to see how this team approaches it. Kind of a need value kind of debate.
What's going to be easier to get on the field for more snaps this year, tight end or wide receiver?
To me, it's still tight end, but again, is the value going to be there to support it, and knowing how tough of a transition it is? So, yeah, it's a fine line to walk, I think.
All right. Overall, quarterbacks aside, it was a fun night to watch. Even though the tight end, I still consider tight end class very meh, but.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the receivers, I think, more than made up for it with how they all worked out. So, yeah, and then today we have basically we had specialists and then running back and offensive lineman. Running back, I mean, that'll get talked about for Pittsburgh a decent amount. Again, everyone kind of knows our stance on the position, but what are you looking at the running back group?
I just haven't invested that much time in it. I want to learn more about Cam Akers, who the Steelers reportedly had some contact with. Same with the LSU kid. What's his name? Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I know a little bit about him, obviously from the championship run there. Joshua Kelly looks like a good kid.
Oh, yeah.
I think we don't we have a write up on him already or no?
We have a profile, and I interviewed him at the Senior Bowl. I have an article on that. So, yeah, really, really good kid.
Right there. So, just in general, just observing and taking notes pretty much on the running back class tonight.
Yeah, I think we'll see how Jonathan Taylor runs his 40. I mean, he was a track star in high school. I didn't really see that long speed on tape, but maybe I'm wrong. We'll kind of figure out what his 40 time is. And from a measurable standpoint at 5'10", 226 with his heavy level of production. I mean, that's something the profile to steal is really, really well. Zach Moss from Utah has gotten a ton of love. The kid from TCU, the big back, has gotten a lot of love. Some Le'Veon Bell comps. Anthony McFarland from Maryland. I mean, I remember watching Durham Gray last year, and this McFarland kid kept popping out on a really bad Maryland team. Undersized, but, short. I shouldn't say undersized. He's short, not small, at 5'8", 208. So, want to watch him work out. And then, as you said, Cam Akers and J.K. Dobbins and the kid from LSU will all be eyes on those guys.
And I think it plays when you look at from what I know about, obviously know a lot more about the wide receiver and the tight end class when it comes to offensive side of football there. But I mean, Kevin Colbert said when he met the media a few days ago, running back class is it's a good running back class, and I think it is a good. I think a lot of people are going to get some good value there in the fourth round with some of these. You can't have 7 guys from each position go in the first round.
Right.
Like many like to think. I don't know. So far, I've seen about 150 players sure to go in the top 50 picks.
Right.
How does that work out? And I've seen about 60 slam dunk first round selections. I don't know how the math works out on that either. These guys get pushed down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just
running back more so than ever. More so. I think. Look, I don't hide my feelings about the running back position. I think running backs. And have thought for years that it's such a fungible position. If you get a good one at a cheap price via a draft, like a fourth or fifth round pick, great. But I don't go investing early in it either.
No, I'm with you. And again, I think the chances of them taking a running back are low. But if it is going to happen, it is going to happen on day 2. Anything beyond that, forget about it. Not worth it.
I think they, look, Le'Veon Bell. I like Le'Veon Bell. There was, remember all the talk back then. It was Le'Veon Bell or the kid out of what was his name?
Eddie Lacy?
Yeah, Eddie Lacy. Remember saying, "Oh no, you got to get Eddie Lacy." All the Steelers messed up there and all like that. Well, obviously Le'Veon Bell became went on to be the right choice there. And yeah, I mean Le'Veon Bell, fine running back. But you better be damn sure, you better hit like that again if you're going to draft one that early. I just, with the wear and tear that position gets and all like that, none of you out there listening to this are ever going to be able to convince me to draft a running back this year in the second round.
Yeah. What about the offensive lineman? Tackle class really good at the top, whether you're talking Becton, who I can't wait to watch work out, and his movement skills for how big he is, and Wirfs and Willis from Bama. I mean, all guys that will not be in play for Pittsburgh, obviously, but just knowing the tackle class is really strong at the top. For Pittsburgh, the focus clearly is on interior offensive line. It is not a particularly good class of interior linemen. It rarely is, but who are some names you're watching out for?
Well, Colton McKivitz, can he move inside?
Yeah, I think he's got, one career game at guard, I want to say. I think I talked to him at the Senior Bowl, and he moved around a little bit at WVU.
I'm looking for the guys, I think, because, look, I think you hit on it. The overall list of guards, like the true left guards right now that we're looking at, and centers for that matter, to be honest with you, is not great.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, is it ever great?
Yeah, it's hard to find good interior offensive line help. It's hard to find good offensive line help in general in the college game. It's just the way things get coached and the scarcity of talent. I think you're looking at some of the LSU guys, Cushenberry III, Damian Lewis, Ben Bredson, John Runyon as a day 3 candidate is a guy to look out for. Matt Hennessy from Temple is one of my favorite guys. And I need to learn more about Jake Hansen, the center from Oregon, who I think did a good job on the bar and put up what he put up. Hansen did 33 reps on the bar, so that's a guy to look out for.
I'm looking at some of these a bit undersized these 6'5" guys, tackles that maybe could potentially kick inside. I'm looking for some of the athleticism and stuff to go along with that. That's what I'm going to be looking for. I think, because look, there's some good tackles in this class, man. You already hit on it, boy. The Wirfs and the Willis and the kid out of Houston. Josh Jones. I mean, the list is good. But the Steelers aren't really tackle poor right now either.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking for a guy that center or guard. Is there one of these guys that kind of can stand out and show like Runyon? I'm going to be watching Runyon tonight. That's one guy I'm going to be watching.
Yeah. Versatile, bloodlines. I mean, he's probably a day 3 guy. So do you want to make a heavier investment in that, or do you double dip? Those are considerations to make. But yeah, Runyon, I think, is someone I want to learn more about. Shane Lemieux, somebody I'm going to have a close eye on as well out of Oregon.
Right. So yeah, looking more for and we can't discount the center position either. With the need. So obviously the kid out of Wisconsin is going to be heavily scrutinized by everyone tonight. There's been a lot of talk about this Ben Barch as well too. I still haven't gotten into his tape any.
Yeah, well, it's hard to find St. John's tape, but he had a great Senior Bowl week. One of those small school guys. Does he have an injury? Or I think he had a pec issue. He didn't bench. Am I remembering that correctly? I don't know if that's going to limit him at all for other workouts. But, yeah, Ben March had a really strong Senior Bowl week. And, it could be an Ali Marpet or D3 kid trying to go in the top 100 picks.
And I weren't you a little high on Ben Bredesen or higher around Senior Bowl time?
I like him. I don't know where the ceiling is. I've compared him a bit to Marco Niski was he at Indy now? I like him.
Is he able to feed himself with the short arms?
Oh, poor. You're really on like these T-Rex guys. How long are your arms? You better have like 35-inch vines.
Oh, no.
These guys. No, yeah, I mean,
there's 31 and 8th. I don't know. You need a longer spoon or what?
Yeah, those are short, especially for being almost 6'5", unusually short arms for him. But he does have solid, consistent tape, a captain, 45 career starts. All I think guard, he hadn't moved around at all. But I do like his tape. He's a good player.
What do you know about Jonah Jackson?
I think he's versatile. He has moved around some. I haven't put on his tape yet. 6'3.5", 306 was a good length, 33.5-inch arms at 28 reps on the bar. That's someone to look at. Ohio State guy. I believe there is some versatility there. I think he was a grad. I think he transferred as like a grad student. Was at Rutgers, I believe, remembering my Ohio State guys correctly, and then played 1 year at Ohio State. So stepped up in competition a little bit. Someone else to keep an eye on.
And I don't know if Solomon Kinley's dealing with an injury or not. He didn't lift. I'm hoping he's going to be able to run. He is a guy that I had kind of mid-round in my latest mock draft as well, too. So, just eyes wide open. I think more than anything, I want to learn a little bit more about several of these guys because to be quite honest with you, I've spent a lot of time so far learning about this wide receiver class and this tight end class and a little bit about defensive line class. And trying to keep up with the edges as well too. So most definitely going to. I'll be learning a lot tonight.
Yeah, one last name, Johnson Simpson from Clemson. I think is a really powerful and physically imposing figure, but can he play with good balance and good technique and not overextend and get on the ground? Not that you're going to see him really in those too many type of environments at the combine, but just overall balance and technique with John Simpson is really going to be the key and the issue with him.
All right. What else do we have?
I just realized Simpson, by the way, did 34 reps on the bench. They're 34 and 1/8-inch arms, which is just absurdly good. But yeah, very strong, but just the technique is the question. Other things we have, you did want to pass along one interesting note with the new CBA proposal. We're not talking too much about the CBA. Everything's still in limbo, still going to a player's vote, which may not happen for another week or so. But there was a report from Tom Pelissero that says there'll be a change. It says practice squad players elevated to the active roster may be returned to the practice squad twice without having to go through waivers. 2 practice squad players may be elevated each week, increasing the active-inactive roster to 54 or 55. So that's interesting for Pittsburgh, because we know they lost some guys to waiver claims last year. Under the new CBA, those things could change.
The Patrick Morris would have changed.
And
But not the other two, not Skipper, not Skipper and Fred Johnson, because they both started they both made the 53-man roster initially.
Okay, so the rule would be if you start the year on the practice squad, you get this pass through. If you start on the 53, even if you go back to the practice squad, you don't get that exemption.
Well, what the way I'm reading this is, let's say last year Skipper and Johnson started off on the 53, got waived, cleared waivers, and made it to the practice squad. Well, then they become a practice squad player. So then the next trip up and back, they're fine.
Okay.
But I might be wrong on this, but the way I'm interpreting this is a practice squad player.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, that sounds right. I'd be surprised if that wasn't the case. That makes a lot of sense.
So, now does this mean team? Here's the thing, you still got to try to get guys to the. I don't think it's going to make a difference in initial roster decisions out of training camp, because either you like the guy and you think you can, you think he might not clear waivers, or the other. So I don't think it's going to make a big difference in there. But I think I do like this because it gives you the ability to develop guys on a practice squad without fear of losing them. And look, emergencies happen where you got to get a guy up. Just even though he's not you don't intend him to play a single damn snap in the game. But you have to have him dressed just in case. You shouldn't be penalized for that.
Right, because effectively you were penalized for having injuries where you had to make a move and then you had to take the risk of that guy getting waived when you send them back down. So I like this change.
Right, and let's face it, if Marquise Pouncey doesn't get suspended, Patrick Morris is safe and secure, on the practice squad there. So I like it overall, and I also I think they're talking about expanding the practice squad by a couple spots as well. So I like that aspect of it. But as far, in long short of it, would it made a big difference in the Steelers season last year? No, but at least we would be talking about still having Patrick Morris on the team.
Yeah, so I did not lose much sleep about losing Patrick Morris. I was much more concerned with Red Johnson. But yeah, I hear you.
But I mean, would you rather have Patrick Morris backing up center or the kid out of Alabama now?
Yeah, no. If it comes down to either of those guys, Austin Howard or Morris, hypothetically, there are a lot of problems. But yeah, point taken on that. I think it's a good rule change overall. So that's all I had, Dave. Anything else you wanted to add, or we can jump into some of your emails?
Suppose what do you think about Curtis Weaver? What do you think about somebody? I don't the deeper I get into some of these guys, this edge class, I'm not finding it maybe as deep as Kevin. Maybe I gotta keep digging a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm not finding it to be as deep as maybe Kevin Colbert makes it sound.
Yeah, with Weaver, it's how good of an athlete is he? I mean, a lot of production, not a great level of athleticism. At least we don't think so. We'll obviously get to work out, and we'll see if that's right or wrong. But that would be the concern with him. I don't want to call it Jarvis Jones because that's such a crutch to lean on. But Jarvis was a guy with a ton of production who didn't test like a good NFL athlete, and I just worry about that because you got to be a good athlete to rush the passer.
All right, do a contextualization of Kaliki, the Michigan kid. I think you guys are missing on the perfect solution to our third safety. His name is Kaliki Hudson. Please get familiar with him. He is my personal friend. Okay? Played high school ball with him, and I've talked to him. There's no bias going on here, is there? This from Jason Chavis. I've talked to him personally about the Steelers showing interest. Also, I feel like at Michigan he was played. According to writer Joe Reeder, the Steelers have scheduled to meet with him. He is strong and versatile enough to rush the edge situationally. He is hard-nosed as they come for his size in the box, and his coverage skills are good but not great yet, and that's where the Steelers come in. I'm a huge believer in Steelers development team, and Tribune Review compared him to Troy Polamalu, for God's sake. Sorry for the long email, but I'm excited. The Steelers are interested in this pick. It could help Super Bowl run immensely. What do you know about Hudson already, Alex?
He was at the Senior Bowl, I believe, one of the dozen Michigan guys to be there. Just that tweener. I mean, he's listed as a linebacker at 5'11", 224. He's kind of this hybrid safety, Morgan Burnett type of role. I don't know a ton about him. Beyond that, I've watched guys like Josh Uche and Ben Brereton have been my Michigan guys so far. They're just trying to figure out where he's going to fit best in the NFL. And there's merit in that because it's all hybrid and scheme versatile and everything's kind of blurred. So I don't say he can't fit, but just based on its testing and all that, finding a home for Kaliki Hudson is going to be the mission for coaches and GMs.
And I really think with Uche as well, right? I mean, it's going to have to be the right fit. That's why, look, I think Uche is going to test well. I like a lot of his tape, but we're still not talking about an every down player here, or wasn't at Michigan.
Well, Fair. I think, in my view, and I've said this before, I think he's even said the teams are viewing him this way, is that on first and second down, he's an off-ball player that can run and hit and cover. And then on third down, he becomes that situational third down pass rusher. So if you ask him to be a pass rusher 100% of the time, then you're going to be in trouble. But if you're smart and versatile and play to his strengths all the time, then you have a really good talent. So it's going to take a team that has a good plan for him. I agree. But I think he can't be a three-down player just by changing his role based on what down it is.
All right, so is he a younger, more athletic Vince Williams?
No, I mean, it's not. I wouldn't compare him to Vince. I mean, Uche's so much more athletic, a much better pass rusher.
That's why I said more athletic.
Well, I mean, in terms of like their body types, I mean, Vince is he's not a huge dude in terms of weight, but just in terms of his overall build, like Uche's a lot skinnier kind of dude, a lot more athletic with bend and pass rush ability and all that. So, no, I compared him to Devon Kennard. I've seen some Kennard Avery comps as well, but those are the comps that I offered up.
But isn't it? I mean, aren't you drafting him more because I mean, how much do you see him off the ball doing things?
In terms of what he actually did at Michigan, or
right.
In terms of my projection, he did it. I mean, he did at the Senior Bowl. He did a little bit at Michigan as well. So I think there's enough tape out there to say, and clearly he has no issue moving backwards and being comfortable in space and all that. So I don't have a whole lot of concerns.
Is there enough there though for you to say this guy's a second round guy from the tape aspect of it? Okay, because look, I mean, his sack and pressure rule is impressive, but a lot of that's going inside the tackle.
Yeah, I think he can win in different ways. I think he wins best on the outside as just being a pure speed and bend the edge kind of guy because he's shorter and he's got really good flexibility. Yeah, I think there's enough out there, Dave. I think he's a guy that can cover. He's a guy that can get after the quarterback on third down. I think you do both of those things in the NFL today, you're going to make yourself a lot of money.
But how is he on first and second down when playing against the run?
As a defensive end, he's going to struggle, and I agree. And that's why he has to play off ball on first and second down in those run potential situations. If you ask him to be a defensive end,
that's where I'm asking you where the tape is on that. I've watched the edge stuff. Mm-hmm. Where is he going to be? How is he going to perform as a Mac or a Buck inside off the ball on first or second down?
I think he's going to do well because he's not going to be going against these tackles on the edge who are going to swallow him up, and he can be a more athletic guy. I think watch the Senior Bowl, watch a practice tape, and probably during the game as well. He played more off ball. He played some off ball at Michigan as well.
Not a lot though, I don't think.
Well, maybe yeah, but at the Senior Bowl he did, and I think he did well. So you have a good plan for him. If you make him one position 100% of the time, then you're not using him properly, and that's on the coaching staff for screwing him up. But if you play to his strengths, I mean, the guy, can he cover? I think he can cover. Is that fair to say the guy can cover?
Yeah, he can go. He can run downfield.
Okay, and can he rush the passer? I think he can rush the passer.
I think situationally, yes.
Right. I mean, on third down, money down, he can rush the passer. Do you do both of those things? It's hard to find a guy that can do both of those, and if you can't do both, then I think you're an asset, not a liability.
Slam dunk second round guy?
I think he's going to test really well. Yeah, I mean, slam dunk's always hard to say, but yeah, I think he's going to be a top 50 guy.
All right, I'm not there yet, so I need to watch more of him off the ball. Hudson, I still got to watch more of Hudson.
Yeah, same.
I think Jason's maybe a little bit too chummy with him though.
Well, it's his buddy, so it's cool. If your buddy's getting interest by the Steelers, then hats off. That's got to be a pretty cool feeling.
Jonathan Mason writes in, Alex and Dave, what is your favorite day 3 prospect?
Oh, well, I know where you're at.
Alex knows mine is Joe Reed. He is from small hometown, tested well at combine, 4.47 at his size is rolling. Interesting that they asked him to work out at running back. Tells you how versatile he is. Thanks.
I like Joe Reed a lot. That was the first player profile I did. So I definitely have a soft spot for Joe Reed. I don't know if I have a particular name that I really like on day 3 yet. I mentioned McFarland, who's just kind of fun to watch at Maryland. He's probably a day 3 type of guy. Yeah, I don't know if I have that name yet, but Joe Reed is a good one.
Well, I haven't got deep enough down to know a lot of, obviously start at the top of the class, and try to work your way through position groups. I really only have one, and that's Charlie Warner, because, the only guy that I've really gone deep enough on that is probably going to be a late, day 3 or an undrafted guy. So, mine was easy to figure out.
All right.
Jay Barbardi writes in all these. He's got a long list of free agent long list of running backs here. 44 running backs were taken day 3 the past 3 drafts, including the ones listed above. And that list includes Philip Lindsay, Tariq Cohen, Jamal Williams, Marlon Mack, Aaron Jones, Chris Carson, Austin Egg, blah, 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 Tony Pollard, Chase Edmonds, Justin Jackson, Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, Mark Walton, Benny Snell. And I left off several who are middling or unproven. Picking from all 44 even randomly would have given a 1 in 3 chance of landing a good Pro Bowl level running back. I don't understand your complete dismissal of the position later in the draft. It's not the edge. It's not quarterback. Running backs outperform their draft position consistently every year. It is far more likely to get an immediate contributor than other positions. I'm not saying they should draft one. Just taking one late is hardly a flyer. Well, when you answer that, Alex.
Well, no, I understand the point, and that's what we've talked about the running back position being devalued because you can find talent all over the place. My view of it is that you don't want to – I mean, yeah, you can get that type of guy, but just based on the roster as it is today with everybody in that backfield returning, Connor, Snell, Samuels, Kareth White, even Trey Edmonds you can throw in there as well. I mean, you just – adding another name to that group just kind of muddies the room. Like, will that guy make the roster? And just – if you're going to get a guy, you probably want that defined. This is the guy. This is our future running back. So I understand the point, and for a lot of teams, it would make sense to wait into day 3, especially in a weak running back class. If there were open spots on the roster, I'd be more open to the idea. But with everything already kind of locked in and guys already fighting for jobs, I think just adding that guy to fight for a job in an already muddy group just probably isn't the best use of draft picks with so few picks to have here.
And I think what he's doing is he's proving my point.
Right.
You know, why draft one early? You know, look, I think that this team is higher on James Conner and Benny Snell than most people out there listening to this podcast. I think I don't think Colbert's telling a fib here. Yeah, Jalen Samuels is he still got in a questionable situation? Yeah, absolutely. Could this team still draft a 5th round running back? Well, they don't have. I guess it'd be 6th round. A 4th or a 6th round running back. Man, they've been doing it wrong if they have to draft another one in prior to the 4th round. If you ask me, then what the hell were the other picks for? You know, I know you can't predict that kind of stuff, but you want to draft one in the 6th round, 7th round, have at it.
Yeah, I think both of us are kind of like, we're not expecting a running back to be taken really at all. We're just saying if they are going to do it, it would make more sense in this class to take one early and say, okay, we're taking one because we want to have this long-term future at the position, not a, we'll see what happens if he makes the roster kind of guy. That's all. Yeah,
I think we're along the same lines on that. Peter Falks writes in, so we lack a big receiver that can get down the field and make plays. What do you guys think about Antonio Gandy Golden? Boy, we get a lot of questions about him, don't we? I know his competition wasn't top notch, but he still performed well. I'm really kind of mad on him. Now, I have not done a contextualization on him yet, but he's got like a 4th or 5th round feel to him.
Yeah, big guy, long shredder, gets off press better than I expected. Hands can be a bit of an issue. Overall athletic profile, ran a 4.6 flat. Again, there's no wrong answer at receiver this year in terms of the type. I think there's value in the slot receiver, and there's value in kind of that big downfield threat, whether you're talking speedster or jump ball king. Gandy Golden, obviously more of the latter. So is this guy that I'm pounding the table for? No, but I like him.
Bryce writes in, love you guys' coverage. Yep, I'm convinced Trotman, not surprised one bit, by the 40 was a little bit slower. We get in this time now where everybody starts apologizing for numbers. Why is that? Because they get married to these people and then they want to backpedal on any type of criticism against them, I guess. You saw it quite a bit last night on Twitter, people apologizing for certain numbers. Anyway, let's see. Wiggle, change of direction, can move. You said it yourself, Dave. Watch this guy get on defenders' toes and get away from him. I think we saw that in kind of the 3-cone time. When 49 picks comes around, and if Trotman is still there, then he has moved up to my number 1 selection, hands down. For the Steelers, it's a no-brainer to me. Are you both feeling the same? I don't know if he's slam dunk at 49. I'm not going to sit here in February and say slam dunk at 49 if he's on the board.
Yeah, saying slam dunk to anything right now this early is really difficult and kind of pointless to do, to be honest.
All right, number 2. Okay, I don't want to get into crazy free agent speculations. That probably means he's about to get crazy into free agent speculations. But if he was available on a 1-year veteran minimum deal, would you be down for the Steelers signing Jason Witten for depth in the tight end room? Bryce,
No.
Come on, dude. Witten is not going to play for the minimum. I mean, I don't see. He's an incredibly smart player. Does he still have a season worth of snaps in him? Probably. But I mean, why are we even bringing this up? Granted, I doubt the Steelers would do it, but it seems like it could make some sense if the team doesn't get Trautman or Bryant early. He still has good hands. Blah blah blah. Bryce, you can make your emails to us shorter by eliminating some of this foolishness in them. What do you think of Witten?
I don't. He's 37. Probably going to sign before the draft anyway. So the idea of signing him if you don't get those tight ends, I mean, I'm guessing he'll be signed before late April. 37-year-old tight end of this group. They don't need that kind of guy.
Chris Lucart writes in, yes to Albert O. Just yes, thanks. Chris, did you send that in? He sent it in on the 27th. I'm assuming last night. He sent it in at 1:36. I don't know. Was that after? Maybe that's Eastern time. Anyway, hopefully you're not just doing this because of the 40-yard dash time, Chris.
Mm-hmm. But it was impressive. I mean, again, both of us did not see 4.49 coming.
Ted, and people are honest for saying Albert O. Look, we said it. Albert O. surprised the living, you know what, out of me with a 40
I think
time.
He did. Everybody that reacted to that 40 time said they were shocked by it, so I don't think we're alone in that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're alone thinking that we thought that Albert would run a lot slower than that. Ted Webb, 2-part question about all the combine drills. Which one do you think translates the best to football on Sunday while they're wearing shorts? Also, is there any drill you would like them to add to the combine to get better evaluation on players that's not currently being used? Looking forward to all the updates via Steelers Depot's college players go through these drills. Thanks, Ted.
I was asked this the other day in my mailbag. I think universally the 10 split's important for any position. It's obviously really critical for the trench guys, for the offensive linemen, but it's really important for anyone. Just who has burst, who has acceleration, who kind of gets out of their stance quickly. So I think the 10 split is one of those that really works well across the board. In terms of drills I would add, I have no idea. I'd have to think about that one.
I don't know that running the damn end zone fade is helping anything, right?
It kind of felt like a mess yesterday. I know it's first year and all, but it just felt like a disaster.
What about this Deuce Staley drill that they're supposed to do for the running backs?
Which one is that?
You haven't read up on it?
If I have, I might have forgotten about it.
I don't want to recap that, go through that right now. But I mean, I like the 3-cone. He asked about which ones do you think translates good. Man, being able to change direction. Right?
Yeah, true for any position, absolutely.
I mean, I
vertical.
I think the 3 combined, the vertical, the long jump, and the bench have a place as a combined number. Right. Because bench press, obviously, the shorter your arms are, the better you should do, right? But I think lower body explosion with the vertical and the broad jump. I think if you circle like I tried to do early and talked about how Pat Kerwin used to do it and get an explosion number, I think there is some value to be taken from those 3 numbers combined.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's hard to look at any one number and use it too much as a guide, but I think when you look at spark numbers and those explosive scores, you have to look at these things as a combination of an athletic profile as opposed to just one number. That's where that information really becomes useful. It takes into account everything. But I think 3-cone, broad, 10 split, I think are all important numbers.
All right. I think we've gotten through all of them. Anything else to add?
I do want to say for potential day 3 guys, this guy might be in a top 100 player, but I really like Akeem Davis-Gaither, the linebacker from App State. He is a little undersized at 6'1.5", 224, but I love him at the Senior Bowl. His see-to-do, his overall instincts, physicality. I think he's going to have a great workout, and so he might be an early day 3 guy, maybe even jump into day 2, but a big fan of Akeem Davis-Gaither.
All right, we going to be back Tuesday and recap all the combine, or what?
Yeah, be back Tuesday. A lot to go through, but enjoy it. We're tracking all the numbers. We'll have our interview stuff. We'll be updating and giving analysis each morning on Steelers Depot. So stick with us and sticky that combine tracker page. It's going to come in real handy these next couple of days.
Yeah, absolutely. And Alex and I will be busy filling that thing in real time. And like you said, I think we're one of the few, maybe the only one now that kind of does that as visible and as quickly and all. So
and I hope NFL Network has 10 splits. Otherwise, Dave will message me and be very mad about that, and I will have no control over the situation. So please, NFL Network, come through for me.
Yeah, the thing is, I'd much rather have I know it's important on linemen and stuff like that, but man, I'd like to have that in general, just as a baseline, kind of across the board. You always like to get. I understand these guys in the 60-yard shuttle and all like that. Is the 60-yard shuttle really even needed?
Yeah, I mean, most of them don't even do it. How many guys have done the 60-yard shuttle? Like, did anybody do it? I don't think anybody did it yesterday. I don't think
anybody, or at least they haven't updated those, or didn't as of last night update those numbers. 20-yard, I get it. 3-cone, I get it for sure. But some of these other, just give us the damn numbers to play with. We're a bunch of nerds. We got nothing more to look forward to than this kind of stuff here. All right. In the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like all the hard work Alex and myself and the guys on Steelers Depot do, and you want to donate to the cause, go to SteelersDepot.com. Hit the donate button, upper right navigational bar. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, that's very, 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 very popular. Go to SteelersDepot.com. Hit the ad-free button, upper right navigational bar, and for $25 for one calendar year, you will have ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com. In the meantime, I think that's got it. Alex, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.